The morning sun rose over Seoul like any other day. People went to work. Children walked to school. Coffee shops filled with tired office workers checking their phones. Nobody looked up at the sky. Nobody had any reason to. Then the shadows came. Park was drinking his third cup of coffee when the alarm started. He was 52 years old, a career military man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had served as Admiral of Earth's United Defense Fleet for 7 years. In all that time, he had never heard these particular alarms. They were the ones nobody ever expected to use. First contact alarms. He ran to the command center, his coffee forgotten and spilling on the floor behind him. The massive screens showed something impossible. Ships, hundreds of them. They hung in the sky above every major city on Earth, blocking out the sun like massive metal clouds. They were beautiful in a terrible way, smooth and curved, made of materials that seemed to shift color when you looked at them. "How many?" asked, his voice steady even though his heart was pounding. 700 confirmed, sir, a young officer replied. Her hands were shaking as she worked her console. They appeared from nowhere, no warning, nothing on any of our sensors until they were just there. 700 ships. Earth's entire fleet was 42 vessels. Did the math in his head and felt his stomach drop. The communication screen flickered. Something appeared on it. Had spent his whole life preparing for this moment, but nothing could have prepared him for what he saw. The being on the screen was made of crystal, actual crystal, clear and shining, with light pulsing through it like blood through veins. It had no face, no eyes, but somehow knew it was looking at him. A voice came through the speakers. It was not really a voice. It was more like music, like bells ringing in a pattern that somehow formed words in his mind. People of Earth, we are the galactic hegemony. We have ruled this galaxy for 6 million years. We have brought order to 4,000 species. We have watched you grow from animals crawling in the mud to the small civilization you are today. Your development has been noted. Your potential has been measured. Your fate has been decided. Said nothing. He could not speak. Around him, every officer in the command center had stopped moving. They were all staring at the screen, at this impossible thing that had come from the stars. You have one rotation of your planet to respond to our terms, the crystal being continued. Submit to the hegemony. Surrender all weapons. Accept population controls. Serve as a tributary species for 10,000 of your years. After this period, you will be evaluated for possible advancement. The being paused. The lights inside it pulsed faster. Or refuse and be cleansed from existence. As 847 species before you have been cleansed. The choice is yours, but understand this, there is no third option. There is no negotiation. There is no escape. Submit or die, you have one day. The screen went dark. For a long moment, nobody spoke, then picked up his phone and called the president. President was a small woman with sharp eyes and a calm voice. She had been a lawyer before entering politics, and she had a lawyer's ability to stay cool when everything was falling apart. But even she looked pale when finished explaining the situation. They gathered in the emergency bunker beneath the Blue House. The room was full of generals, scientists, and political leaders from around the world. Everyone was talking at once. Some wanted to fight. Some wanted to surrender. Some were crying. Some were praying. Raised her hand, and the room went quiet. "Tell me our options," she said. General, the head of global military operations, stood up. He was a big man with a soldier's bearing, but his voice was hollow. "Madam President, we have no options. Their smallest ships are 3 times the size of our largest. Our weapons cannot scratch their hulls. We tested a nuclear missile on one of their scout vessels 2 hours ago. It did nothing, not even a mark. Their technology is. It's beyond anything we can understand. Fighting them would be like ants fighting a human with a flamethrower." "So we surrender," someone shouted from the back of the room. "We survive," replied. 10,000 years is a long time, maybe we can." Can what? Interrupted. Serve, obey, watch them control our population, our children, our future for 10,000 years, she shook her head. That is not survival, that is a slow death. The alternative is a fast one, said quietly. The room fell silent again, looked at the faces around her. These were the leaders of humanity, the best and the ones who were supposed to have answers, and none of them had anything to offer but fear and despair. Then a voice spoke from the corner of the room. There might be another way. Everyone turned. A thin man in a wrinkled lab coat was standing near the door. He had messy hair and glasses that kept sliding down his nose. He looked like he had not slept in days. His name tag read, Dr. Korean Advanced Institute of Science. Who are you? Demanded. This is a classified meeting. How did you get in here? I was invited, said. He looked at. 20 years ago, your predecessor approved a secret project, a weapon of last resort, something to ensure that humanity would never face extinction. We called it the Silence Protocol. I have never heard of this, said. You were not supposed to, replied. Nobody was. It was buried so deep that only 3 people in the government knew it existed. The current president was briefed on her first day in office. He looked at again. You know what I am talking about. His face was unreadable. I was told it was theoretical, decades away from being functional. We finished it 6 months ago, said. We were going to tell you next year. We wanted to run more tests, but I think, he pushed his glasses up his nose, I think we are out of time for tests. What does it do? Asked. Took a deep breath. It makes things stop existing, not destroyed, not moved, just gone, erased from reality at the quantum level. No defense, no shield, no counter. If we target something with the silence protocol, it simply ceases to be, as if it never existed in the first place. The room was completely still. That is impossible, whispered. So is faster-than-light travel, said. So is a being made of living crystal. The universe is full of impossible things, General. We just made one of our own. Stood up slowly. She walked toward until she was standing right in front of him. She was a head shorter than him, but somehow she seemed larger. You are telling me, she said quietly, that we have a weapon that can destroy their ships, all of them. Met her eyes. I am telling you that we have a weapon that can destroy anything, their ships, their worlds, their entire civilization, but there is a cost. There is always a cost, said. Tell me. The weapon requires a human mind to guide it. Someone has to be inside the device to choose what gets erased, and when the weapon fires, his voice caught. That person is erased too. They become part of the silence. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Outside, the alien ships hung in the sky like metal gods, waiting for an answer that would decide the fate of humanity. Looked up at the ceiling, as if she could see through it to the ships above. Then she looked back at. Show me, she said. The helicopter flew low over the mountains, sat by the window, watching the peaks of Mount pass beneath them. The ancient volcano was covered in snow, beautiful and peaceful, giving no sign of what was hidden beneath it. Sat across from her, his laptop open, running calculations she could not understand. Admiral Park was beside him, his face hard and unreadable. They had not spoken much during the flight. There was nothing to say. The helicopter landed on a small platform carved into the mountainside. A steel door waited for them, guarded by soldiers in unmarked uniforms. Showed his identification, and the door slid open to reveal an elevator. They descended for a long time. The numbers on the elevator display climbed higher and higher. 1 kilometer, 2, 3. Finally, at 3.2 kilometers, the elevator stopped. The doors opened onto a world of white light and humming machines. The laboratory was enormous, carved from the living rock of the mountain. Hundreds of scientists and technicians moved between workstations, their faces lit by glowing screens. At the center of it all was something that made stop in her tracks. It was a sphere, a perfect sphere of black metal, maybe 20 meters across. It floated in the air without any visible support, rotating slowly, silently. Looking at it made her eyes hurt. It was like trying to focus on something that was not quite there, something that existed between moments of time. A woman approached them. She was younger than, with short hair and quick eyes. She wore the same kind of wrinkled lab coat, and she moved with the confident energy of someone who had not slept in weeks but was running on pure excitement. "Madam President," she said, bowing slightly, "I am Dr. Shin. I am the lead engineer on the silence protocol. Welcome to our laboratory." Nodded, but her eyes remained on the sphere. "That is the weapon." "That is the interface," corrected. "The weapon is harder to explain. The sphere is where the human operator connects to the quantum field. It reads their consciousness, their intentions, their choices, and then it makes those choices real." "Show me how it works," said. Led them to a viewing room overlooking the sphere. Screens covered the walls, showing data streams and video feeds from cameras positioned around the device. On one screen, could see a small metal cube floating in a sealed chamber. "We have run 700 tests," said. "Small objects only. We have never tested it on anything living. We have never tested it at full scale, but the theory is sound. Watch." She typed a command into her console. A door in the sphere opened, and a young man in a white suit floated inside. Electrodes were attached to his head and chest. His eyes were closed. "This is Volunteer 7, said. "He is in a deep meditative state. We do not need full consciousness for small tests, just a focused intention." On the screen, watched the volunteer's brain activity spike. Then something impossible happened. The metal cube in the sealed chamber simply vanished. There was no flash, no sound, no particle effect. One moment it existed. The next moment it did not. The air did not even rush in to fill the space it had occupied. "The cube is gone," said. "Not destroyed. Gone. Its probability of existing has been reduced to zero across all quantum states. It is as if it was never there. Even the light that was reflecting off its surface has been erased. Even the memory of it in the universe's quantum field is gone." Stared at the empty chamber, and the volunteer. "He is fine. For small objects the connection is brief. There is no danger to the operator." His voice grew quieter. "But for larger targets, the connection must be deeper, more complete. The operator becomes part of the field they are collapsing. They guide the erasure with their own consciousness, and when it is done, they are erased too." Finished. Nodded. "The quantum field does not distinguish between the operator and the target. They become linked. When one goes, both go." Turned away from the window. Her face was calm, but her hands were clenched at her sides. Could this weapon destroy their ships? "All of them," said. "In a single moment. The operator would simply need to hold the image of the fleet in their mind, to want them gone with absolute certainty, and the field would do the rest." "What about their home world, their civilization?" And exchanged a look. It was who answered. "The silence protocol has no range limit that we have found. Distance is meaningless to quantum probability. If the operator knows where something is, if they can focus on it with enough clarity, they can erase it. In theory," she hesitated, "in theory, a single human consciousness could erase an entire empire." The room was silent. Looked at the floating sphere, at the volunteer still suspended inside it, peaceful and unaware of the power flowing through him. "Why," she asked suddenly, "why did you build this?" Stepped forward. His voice was heavy with something that might have been guilt. "Because we looked up at the stars, Madam President, and we saw how big the universe was, how old, how dangerous. We are a young species on a small planet. We have enemies we have not met yet, threats we cannot imagine. We built this because we wanted to make sure that no matter what came for us, no matter how powerful or ancient or terrible, we would have an answer, a final answer." "You built it so we could threaten gods," said quietly. "We built it so gods could not threaten us," replied. walked to the window and placed her hand on the glass. The sphere rotated slowly, endlessly waiting. "If I use this weapon," she said, "and I erase their fleet, what happens next?" "They will know," said. "Everyone will know. We have detected communication signals from the hegemony ships. They are broadcasting to the entire galaxy. Everything that happens here is being watched by thousands of civilizations. So if we win, everyone will fear us." "Yes. And if we lose, everyone will forget we ever existed." "Also yes." Was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was steady. "I have a daughter. She is 12 years old. Last week she asked me if there was life on other planets. I told her I did not know. I told her that the universe was very big and anything was possible." She laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. "I did not expect to get an answer so quickly." She turned to face them. "If we surrender, what happens to every child on Earth?" "They will be assigned roles," said. "The hegemony uses tributary species as labor, as soldiers, as resources. Population controls would limit how many children could be born. Education would be restricted. Culture would be erased. In 10,000 years, there would be nothing left of humanity but the bodies. Everything that makes us who we are would be gone. And if we fight with conventional weapons, we lose in hours, maybe less. Every city burns, every human dies. The hegemony does not leave survivors when a species refuses." Nodded slowly. "So our choices are slavery, extinction, or," she looked at the sphere, "or this, a weapon that destroys everything, including the person who uses it." "There is one more thing," said. His voice was reluctant, as if he did not want to say what came next. "The weapon needs someone who can maintain absolute focus, complete clarity of thought, total commitment to the outcome. Doubt, hesitation, fear. These will cause the field to collapse incorrectly. The target might not be fully erased. The operator might survive but be damaged in ways we cannot predict. For the weapon to work perfectly, the person inside must be willing to die, truly willing. Not just accepting death, but embracing it." Stepped forward. His back was straight, his chin raised. He looked like a soldier preparing for his final battle. "I volunteer," he said. "I have no family, no children. My life has been dedicated to protecting Earth. Let me protect it one last time." Looked at him for a long moment, then she shook her head. "No, Admiral, I need you for what comes after. The galaxy will be watching. They will need to see strength, leadership, courage. They will need to see that humanity is not just a weapon. We are a people, and you will show them that." "Then who?" asked. Did not answer, but her eyes went back to the sphere and something in her face changed. It was not fear, it was not sadness, it was something like peace. "Understood first." Her eyes went wide. "Madam President, no, you cannot. The country needs you. The world needs you." "The world needs to survive," said simply. "And I am the only one who can make this choice. The leader of humanity must be the one who makes the final decision. It must be me. It has to be me." She looked at them all, one by one. "Begin preparations. I will address the hegemony in 6 hours. And then we will see if humanity has the strength to end a conversation forever." 6 hours passed like 6 minutes. The world had changed. News of the alien fleet had spread across every screen, every phone, every radio station. Some people panicked. Some people prayed. Some people held their families close and waited for the end. In Seoul, the streets were empty. In New York, crowds gathered in Times Square watching the ships hover above them. In Mumbai, in London, people looked up at the sky and asked the same question: what happens now? President was about to give them an answer. She stood in the broadcast center deep beneath Mount, surrounded by cameras and technicians. Her hair was neat. Her suit was pressed. Her hands were steady. Nobody watching would know that she had made the decision to die less than 6 hours ago. Admiral Park stood beside her, his face like stone. He had argued with her for hours, begging her to choose someone else. anyone else, but she had refused. The leader must lead, she told him, even into death, especially into death. Doctor and Dr. Shin were at their stations, monitoring the silence protocol. The sphere was ready. The weapon was charged. Everything was in place. Now they just needed to make the aliens listen. The broadcast began. Space appeared on every screen on Earth, and on every frequency the hegemony was using to communicate with the galaxy. Her voice was calm and clear, translated instantly into thousands of alien languages by the technology her scientists had decoded from hegemony transmissions. People of Earth, this is your president. Today we received a message from the stars. An empire that has ruled this galaxy for 6 million years has given us a choice: become their slaves or die. They believe we are weak. They believe we are primitive. They believe we have no power against their great fleet. She paused. Around the world, billions of people held their breath. They are wrong. In the command ship of the hegemony fleet, the Supreme Arbiter watched the transmission with curiosity. He was old beyond human understanding, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline shell. He had overseen the conquest of 93 species. He had ordered the destruction of 12 more. He had never once felt doubt about the outcome. But something in this human's eyes made him pause. "We do not wish for war," continued. "We do not wish for destruction, but we will not kneel. We will not serve. We will not watch our children become slaves to an empire that sees us as nothing more than insects. You have threatened us with extinction. Now hear our response." She leaned closer to the camera. Her voice dropped, becoming harder, colder. "Leave our system now. Take your ships and go. Never return. If you do this, we will allow you to live. If you do not," she paused, "then we will show you what humanity can do when we have nothing left to lose." The Arbiter made a sound that might have been laughter. The crystal beings communicated through vibrations, through harmonics, through patterns of light. His amusement rippled through the command ship like music. "Advisor," he said to the being beside him, "are you recording this? The primitives are threatening us. How delightful." "Should we respond, Supreme One?" "Why bother? They have made their choice. Begin the cleansing. Start with the coastal cities. Let them watch their homes burn before we finish them." 12 warships broke from the formation. They were each 5 kilometers long, smooth and silver, beautiful and terrible. They accelerated toward Earth, their weapons systems powering up. In minutes they would be in range. In hours humanity would be ash and memory. Deep beneath Mount, watch them come. "Are you ready?" asked. His voice was soft. "No," she admitted, "but that does not matter. We are out of time." She walked toward the sphere. It hung in the air before her, black and silent, rotating slowly. A door opened in its surface, revealing the chamber inside. It was small, barely large enough for one person. Electrodes hung from the ceiling. Monitors lined the walls. Approached her with tears in her eyes. "Madam President, you do not have to do this. We can find another way. We can." "There is no other way," said gently. She took hands in hers. "You built something incredible, something that will save humanity. Do not cry for me. Be proud of what you have done." She looked at. The Admiral was struggling to maintain his composure. His jaw was tight, his eyes wet. "Take care of them," said. "All of them. The whole world. They will need a leader when this is over. They will need someone to show them that we are more than just a weapon. Promise me." Bowed his head. "I promise." Turned to the sphere. She took a deep breath. Then she floated inside. The door closed behind her. The electrodes attached themselves to her head and chest. Screens flickered to life, showing her the alien fleet, the 12 ships approaching Earth, the Supreme Arbiter in his crystal command center. His voice came through a speaker. "We are connecting you to the quantum field now. You will feel strange, like you are everywhere at once. Do not be afraid. Just focus on what you want to happen. The field will do the rest." The sensation was unlike anything she had ever experienced. It was like falling and flying at the same time, like being asleep and more awake than she had ever been. She could feel the ships now, feel them like cold spots in the warm fabric of reality. They were there. They were real. And she could make them not real. The 12 warships were seconds from firing range. Their weapons were charged. Their commanders were eager. They had done this hundreds of times before. This was routine. This was easy. Focused on them, she held them in her mind. She felt their mass, their energy, their probability of existence. And then, with a thought as simple as blowing out a candle, she made them stop. Not explode, not vanish in fire and light, just stop. The ships simply ceased to exist. The space they had occupied was empty. The particles that had formed them were gone. Even the light that had been reflecting off their hulls had been erased. It was as if they had never been there at all. 12 ships, billions of tons of metal and technology, thousands of crew members, gone. The hegemony fleet went silent. The arbiter stopped moving. His advisors froze. Nobody spoke. Nobody could speak. Because nothing like this had ever happened before. His voice echoed across the galaxy, transmitted on every frequency. That was a demonstration. 12 ships, gone, not destroyed, erased. There is no debris because there is nothing left. There is no radiation because no energy was released. They simply stopped being. She paused. On the arbiter's screen he could see her face, could see her eyes. There was no fear there, no hesitation, just absolute certainty. You have 688 ships remaining. I can erase them all. I can erase your home world. I can erase every planet in your empire, in a single moment, with a single thought. There is no defense. There is no escape. There is only my choice to let you live or let you die. She leaned forward. Leave now and never come back. This is not a negotiation. This is not a request. This is your only warning. You have 5 minutes to begin your retreat. If even one ship remains after that time, I will assume you have chosen extinction, and I will give it to you. The transmission ended. In the command ship, the arbiter stood motionless. His crystal form pulsed with colors that had no names in human language: fear, confusion, rage, disbelief. Supreme One, his advisor said, "What do we do?" The arbiter looked at the empty space where 12 of his ships had been. He thought of the millions of years his civilization had dominated the galaxy. He thought of the thousands of species they had crushed, enslaved, destroyed. And he realized, for the first time in his ancient existence, that he did not know what to do. The clock was ticking. 4 minutes left. The Supreme Arbiter had lived for 6,000 years. He had seen stars born and die. He had walked on worlds that no longer existed. He had watched civilizations rise and fall like waves on an endless ocean. In all that time, he had never known fear. He knew it now. The fear was not just his own. He could feel it spreading through his fleet like a disease. The crystalline beings communicated through harmonics, through shared vibrations of thought and emotion. What one felt, all could feel. And right now, every being in the hegemony fleet was feeling something they had never experienced before. Terror. Supreme One. His chief advisor floated toward him, his crystalline form flickering with unstable light. We have analyzed the event. We cannot explain it. Our sensors detected nothing. No energy signature, no dimensional shift, no weapon discharge. The ship simply stopped existing. The probability of their matter collapsed to zero across all quantum states simultaneously. Is that possible? The arbiter asked. No, it is not possible. The energy required to manipulate probability fields on that scale would require harnessing the power of a star. These humans have barely mastered fusion technology. They should not be able to do what we just witnessed. And yet 12 of my ships are gone. The advisor had no response. The arbiter turned to the screen showing the human leader. She was still inside that strange black sphere, her face calm, her eyes closed. She looked so small, so fragile. How could something so weak threaten an empire that had ruled the galaxy for 6 million years? But she had threatened them, and she had proven she could make good on that threat. Options, the Arbiter demanded. Give me options. We could retreat, another advisor said. Accept the humans' terms, leave this system and never return. If we retreat, word will spread, the Arbiter replied. Every tributary species in the hegemony will see that we can be challenged. They will see that we can be beaten. The rebellions will start within days. Our empire will collapse within a generation. Then we attack, another advisor suggested. All ships at once. Overwhelm their weapon before they can use it again. If we strike fast enough, perhaps. Perhaps what? Perhaps we can destroy a planet before its leader blinks. You saw what she did. There was no warning, no delay. One moment our ships existed, the next they did not. How do we outrun that? How do we fight a thought? The clock continued to tick. 3 minutes left. Across the galaxy, the broadcast was being watched. The hegemony's own communication network had carried the humans' message to every corner of their empire. Thousands of species, billions of beings, all watched as 12 warships vanished into nothing. On a world called Threshold, the ruling council of a species that had served the hegemony for 800 years, gathered in emergency session. Did you see it? Elder asked. The human weapon. We saw, Elder replied. The hegemony fleet is frozen. They do not know what to do. If the humans can stand against them, then perhaps we can too. Similar conversations were happening on 100 worlds, 1,000 worlds. Species that had been conquered, enslaved, broken, all of them were watching. All of them were remembering what it felt like to be free. Back in the command ship, the Arbiter made his decision. We attack, he said. All ships, everything we have, target the planet itself. If we cannot destroy their weapon, we destroy everything around it. We crack their world in half before their leader can react. Supreme won the risk. The risk of retreat is greater. If we show weakness now, we lose everything. At least if we attack, we have a chance. Perhaps their weapon has limits. Perhaps it cannot stop all of us at once. We will never know unless we try. He raised his crystalline arm and gave the order. All ships full attack, target Earth, leave nothing standing. 688 warships began to move. Their engines flared with power. Their weapons charged with enough energy to shatter moons. They formed into an attack pattern that had been used to destroy 100 worlds before. In the bunker beneath Mount, alarm screamed. They are attacking, reported, her voice tight with fear. All of them, they are coming straight for Earth. Admiral Park watched the screens. The wall of approaching ships was terrifying. Each one was a weapon capable of ending civilizations. Together, they were enough to reduce a planet to rubble 1,000 times over. How long until they reach firing range? 4 minutes, maybe less. The President checked her monitors. She is still connected to the quantum field, but something is wrong. Her vital signs are unstable. The connection is putting enormous strain on her body. She cannot maintain this for much longer. Inside the sphere was burning. The quantum field was not meant for human consciousness. It was too vast, too complex, too alien. Holding it was like trying to hold an ocean in her hands. Every second cost her something. She could feel herself being worn away, eroded, dissolved. But she could also feel the ships, all of them. 688 points of cold reality rushing toward her planet, toward her daughter, toward everyone she had sworn to protect. She could erase them. She could reach out and make them all disappear just like the first 12, but something made her hesitate. Not fear, not doubt, something else. If she destroyed the fleet, the message would be clear: threaten humanity and die. But what kind of future did that create? A future where Earth was surrounded by fear, where every species in the galaxy saw humans as monsters, where her daughter grew up in a universe that hated her people. There had to be another way. She pushed deeper into the quantum field, past the ships, past the fleet. She followed the communication signals, the links between the hegemony vessels and their home world, and she found it. The hegemony core. A cluster of 12 worlds at the center of the empire, the home of the crystalline beings, the seat of their power, the heart of everything they had built over 6 million years. She could see it all: the shipyards where their fleets were constructed, the academies where their soldiers were trained, the communication hubs that coordinated their vast network of conquered species, the temples where they their own greatness. And beyond that, she could see the chains. Millions of chains stretching across the galaxy, each one connecting a tributary world to the core, each one representing a species in bondage. 4,000 civilizations held captive by the threat of annihilation. If she destroyed only the fleet, the core would remain. They would build more ships. They would return. The chains would never break. But if she destroyed the core itself? The fleet was 2 minutes from firing range. The screens showed the approaching wall of death, was shouting orders, was crying. The whole world was holding its breath. Opened her eyes. She knew what she had to do. It would cost her everything, not just her life but her identity, her memories. Every part of who she was would be absorbed into the quantum field. She would become the silence itself, spread across the galaxy forever. But her daughter would be free. Every child on Earth would be free. And maybe, just maybe, a universe without the hegemony would be a universe where freedom could grow. She thought of her daughter's smile, her laugh, the way she wrinkled her nose when she was thinking hard about something, would never see her graduate, never see her fall in love, never hold her. But would live. That was enough. That had to be enough. "I am sorry," whispered. "I am so sorry." Then she reached out, not to the fleet but beyond it, to the core, to the heart of the empire, to everything the hegemony had built. And she began to let go. The quantum field expanded. Felt herself stretching across the universe, becoming thinner, becoming less, becoming everything and nothing at the same time. It was painful. It was beautiful. It was the most terrifying thing she had ever experienced. But she did not stop. In the command ship, the Supreme Arbiter watched his fleet approach Earth. Victory was moments away. The human weapon would be destroyed. The primitive species would be erased. Order would be restored. Then his advisor made a sound that was not music. It was something broken, something wrong. "Supreme One, the core." The Arbiter turned to his display. What he saw made his crystalline form go dark. The hegemony core was vanishing. Not exploding, not burning, just vanishing, world by world, station by station. The communication hubs went first, their signals cutting off mid-transmission. Then the shipyards where half-built warships simply stopped existing. Then the academies, the temples, the government centers. 12 worlds, 6 million years of civilization, gone in less than a heartbeat. "No," the Arbiter whispered. "No, this is not possible. This cannot be happening." But it was happening. He could feel it through the harmonic network that connected all crystalline beings. He could feel his people vanishing. Their thoughts, their memories, their existence, all of it being erased from reality. The network was screaming, but the screams were growing quieter. There were fewer and fewer voices left to scream. "Stop them," he commanded. "Fire everything, destroy the planet now." But his crew was not listening. They were frozen, their crystalline forms flickering with the same broken light. They could feel their home dying. They could feel their species being erased. The fleet stopped moving. Ships drifted aimlessly, their crews too shocked to function. Some vessels crashed into each other. Others simply went dark. In the space of 30 seconds, the greatest military force in galactic history became a graveyard. inside the sphere was almost gone. She could barely feel her body anymore. Her thoughts were scattered across light years. Her memories were fading, dissolving into the quantum field like sand into water. But she was not finished. She reached further, past the core, past the fleet, into the communication networks that the hegemony had used to control their empire. She found every message, every threat, every command that had been used to keep the tributary species in chains. And she erased those too. Across the galaxy, the chains broke. On Threshold, the watched as the hegemony communication relay simply vanished. The constant stream of orders, demands, and threats that had controlled their world for 800 years went silent. Elder looked at Elder. Neither of them spoke. Neither of them needed to. They were free. The same scene played out on 1,000 worlds. 1,000,000 worlds. Species that had been conquered, enslaved, and broken for suddenly found themselves alone. The voice of their masters had gone silent. The hand that had held them down was gone. Some celebrated, some wept, some could not believe what had happened, but all of them, every single one, knew that the universe had changed forever. Back on Earth in the bunker beneath Mount, alarms went silent. Stared at her screens in disbelief. The hegemony fleet was dead. Every ship was drifting, powerless, their crews vanished along with their home world. The quantum field was stabilizing. The weapon was powering down. And the sphere was opening. Ran toward it, his heart pounding. He reached inside, hopping against hope that somehow, the president had survived. The sphere was empty. There was no body, no remains, not even a trace of the woman who had been inside, just empty space and silence. "She is gone," whispered, tears streamed down her face. The field took her, she became part of it. Stood there for a long moment, his hand pressed against the cold metal of the sphere. Then he straightened. His face hardened. There would be time to mourn later. Right now, the world needed to know what had happened. He walked to the broadcast console and activated it. His face appeared on every screen on Earth. "People of Earth, this is Admiral Park. The hegemony fleet has been destroyed. Their empire has been dismantled. The threat is over." He paused, gathering himself. "President gave her life to save us. She gave everything she had so that we could be free, so that our children could be free. She did not do this because she wanted power or glory or to be remembered as a hero. She did it because she loved us, all of us, and she believed that humanity was worth saving." His voice broke, but he continued. "We owe her a debt that can never be repaid, but we can honor her memory. We can build a world worthy of her sacrifice. We can show the galaxy that humanity is not just a weapon. We are a people, and we will never forget what she did for us." He ended the transmission. In Seoul, in a small apartment near the university, a 12-year-old girl sat alone in front of her television. She had watched everything: her mother's speech, the demonstration, the attack, and now the Admiral's announcement. Did not cry. She was too shocked for tears. Her mother was gone. The strongest, bravest, most wonderful person she had ever known was gone, and she was never coming back. But as the shock began to fade, something else took its place. Not grief, not anger, something quieter, something deeper. Pride. Her mother had saved the world. Her mother had freed an entire galaxy. Her mother had faced an empire of gods and made them disappear. Walked to her window and looked up at the sky. The alien ships were still there, drifting like dead leaves on the wind. Soon they would be towed away, studied, dismantled. But for now they hung there, a reminder of what had almost been. "I will make you proud," Mom whispered. "I promise." The years passed. Earth emerged from the shadow of the hegemony into a galaxy that was both terrified and fascinated by them. The Silence Bringers, some species called them. The Enders, the species that killed an empire with a thought. But Admiral Park made sure that was not the only story told about humanity. He became Earth's first ambassador to the liberated worlds. He traveled from planet to planet, meeting with the species that had been freed from hegemony control. He listened to their stories. He learned their languages. He showed them that humans could be kind, curious, and generous. Slowly, fear gave way to respect. Respect gave way to friendship. Alliances were formed. Trade routes were opened. A new order began to emerge, not built on conquest and chains, but on cooperation and mutual benefit. Doctor destroyed the Silence Protocol. He burned the blueprints. He wiped the data. He dismantled the sphere with his own hands. Some weapons should only exist once, he said. Dr. Shin continued her research, but in a different direction. Instead of building tools of destruction, she focused on creation. New energy sources, new methods of healing, new ways to explore the universe without violence. She dedicated every breakthrough to the memory of the woman who had made it possible. And in Seoul, a statue was erected in the memorial gardens near the Blue House. It showed a woman standing alone, her hands raised toward the sky as if holding back an ocean of stars. Her face was calm. Her eyes were closed. She looked at peace. The inscription at the base was simple. President. She ended the conversation so her children could begin a new one. People came from all over the world to see it. Some came to pay respects. Some came to pray. Some came just to stand in the shadow of the woman who had saved them all. And sometimes, late at night, a young woman would come alone. She would stand before the statue and talk about her day, about her studies, about her hopes and fears and dreams. Had grown up. She had become a scientist, following in the footsteps of Dr. and Dr. Shin. She was working on ways to explore the universe, to reach out to the stars that her mother had protected. I am going into space next month, she told the statue one evening. My first mission, a diplomatic trip to the home world. They want to discuss a research partnership. Can you believe it? The species that was enslaved for 800 years and now they want to work with us. She paused, looking up at her mother's stone face. I wish you could come with me. I wish you could see what you made possible. The galaxy is not perfect. There are still conflicts, still problems, still so much work to do, but it is better, it is freer, and that is because of you. She reached out and touched the base of the statue. Thank you, Mom, for everything. Then she turned and walked away, into a future that her mother had given everything to create. Above her, the stars shone bright and endless, a galaxy of possibilities waiting to be explored. And somewhere in the silence between the stars, a presence that had once been a woman watched over it all. The conversation had ended, but the story was just beginning.